Welcome to lightning speed memory. How would you like to increase your chances for success and make more money? How about impressing your teachers, your boss, your friends and family with an amazing memory? With a proven technique used by this program, there is no doubt that you will have a big advantage in both your personal and professional life. So get ready to unleash your own lightning speed memory. Hi, this is Igor Lacerda, and I want to congratulate you on investing in this audio program and taking a step forward in your self-development. Also, I must say that I'm really excited for you for taking this program, and I am confident that the breakthrough technique you learn here will dramatically improve your memory. If you are a student, you'll be able to apply this technique in any field of study, especially with those subjects that require a lot of memorization, such as biology, chemistry, history, and geography. At work and your personal life, you use the same technique to remember names, phone numbers, grocery lists, bank accounts, and the list goes on and on. And most importantly, you'll be able to accomplish all your memorization much faster than you would normally, this way opening up all this free time for yourself that you can use it to rest, or spend it with your friends and family and have some fun, or apply it where it's really necessary. All this for your benefit. Now, if you are ever present at one of my seminars, one thing I always say in the beginning is that I'm not going to bore you with all the scientific information that there is no need for you to know. You're going to learn exactly what you need to know. This way you can start applying and seeing results right away. You see, I believe we need to simplify things and not complicate them. And that's the way this audio program was arranged for you, in the simplest and fastest way for you to learn the LSM technique. The only scientific comment I'm going to make is this. There are different parts of your brain that handle different assignments, so to speak. For example, there is a part of your brain that deals with language, then another with music, math calculations, and among many others, there is a part of your brain that handles memory. That's it, just raw data, raw information. And that's what this technique is for, to help you efficiently archive information into your long-term memory, so this way when you need it later, you're able to retrieve it at will. I also like to mention one of my favorite quotes. And even though the principle behind this quote applies to many aspects of our lives, in this case, we're going to apply it in terms of how we use our memory. And it's going to make a lot of sense as to why our memory fails us. Now that quote by Napoleon Hill says, "Hard work and long hours alone does not guarantee success. You must have an organized plan." If you happen to be a student right now, or if you have been out of school for many years like myself, I'm sure we can all relate to this. But think of those nights in which we studied so hard for a test we had the next day, trying to memorize all that information, dealing with all that stress. And then after you take the test, what happens? That information was gone. So all that work, all that stress for nothing. Why am I saying nothing here? Because even if you got a good grade on that test, when the finals come along, you have to go through the whole process all over again, memorizing all that information, dealing with all that stress, and then you end up forgetting everything again. So it's a vicious cycle. Now, wouldn't it be so much easier and smarter if we could input that information into our long-term memory and hold on to it? So this way when the finals come along, all we would have to do is a brief review. That's it. Now let me repeat that quote again and think about the example we've just used. Okay, here it goes. Hard work and long hours alone does not guarantee success. You must have an organized plan. And that's what the LSM technique is. It is the organized plan for your memory. So now it's time for us to establish some ground rules for learning this technique more efficiently. There are basically 2 rules. And before we even look at these rules, I just wanted to mention that the front cover or insert for this audiobook contains a reference material for you. And don't worry about looking at it right now, because it may not make any sense to you at this point, and also because I imagine you might be driving as you're listening to this CD. But later on, when we refer to this material, you will notice that this program has 10 levels. Now, with that being said, rule number 1 is study 1 level at a time. I know it's easy, you may want to go too fast, but slow down. Study 1 level at a time. And only after you're confident and familiar with that information, then of course you move on to the next level. And that brings us to rule number 2, which is take breaks. So after each level, take a short break to allow your mind to rest and subconsciously review that information. Generally, each study session should not be longer than 30 minutes. Studies have shown that between 20 and 30 minutes is the average attention span of individuals. So when you're studying for a test or getting ready for a presentation, do so for 20 or 30 minutes. It could be even less time. You know your limit. Then take a short break. And it can be a very simple break, like for example, to go and get a glass of water. But by taking these breaks, you will be much more efficient in your study sessions and you won't be as tired in the end. Also, in the course of listening to this CD, I'm going to ask you to stop and pause the CD after each exercise session for the same reason. Only after you have mastered that information, then come back for the next part of the program. Another thing I want you to do is to refrain from taking any notes. You see, most of us are taught that if you want to remember something, you have to write it down. Well, I don't believe that to be 100% true at all, because if you write everything down, what you're doing is you're telling your memory, hey, you don't have to remember this, it's written down. And therefore you pay less attention to things and you pretty much make your memory lazy. Now, I'm not saying for you students to stop taking notes in class. That's not what I'm saying. You still need those notes. But when you stop and think about what notes are a reference material. So when you need that information, you refer to those notes later. But at the same time, if you ever lost those notes, it's like you never wrote them down to begin with. They have nothing to do with your memory. On the other hand, when you're studying and concentrating on the subject, then writing down some notes will be helpful to you, because those notes will then become additional visual aids, which are so important in the process of memorization. But once again, there's no need to ever have to write down a grocery list. And later on, we'll see a very simple technique just for that.